I'm Mick Maurer, and I'm one voice in emergency management. Like most people in emergency management, my background goes back into the military. Started as a combat medic in 1971, ended up in the mental health field as a result, ended up then in Masters of Hospital Administration as a result of the Army. Got involved with teaching. Then the next thing I know, that I was doing some research at NYU in 99. 2001, I was interviewed by Metropolitan College of New York. They were more interested in my psychology and mental health than they were in some of my other military experience. Was hired, started the Tuesday before 9/11, which is the Tuesday after Labor Day. The next week, 9/11 occurred. We had a meeting of the dean and two other members from our department at the time to talk in January of 2003 about what the dean had an idea about what was a trauma management degree. And I told him that that was more of a hospital-based degree, and I think what he was interested in was disaster and emergency management. So again, having to be an educator, I had to educate the dean, the provost, the president, and got into a new area, which was curriculum development and creating what was the first master's degree in New York State, and was only the 20th master's degree in the country at the time. And we submitted the degree the week before the blackout of 2003, and I was the happiest person walking back from Queens into Manhattan across the 59th Street Bridge, because I figured if the state didn't realize why we should have a master's degree like this in the country, much less in the state, then we would probably never win our battle as far as why we had to have people who were trained. There are now about 60-some master's degrees in the country, but there are still 3 states that don't even have an associate's degree: Kansas, Vermont, and New Hampshire. So it's still somewhat of an uphill battle, but from a training standpoint and an educator standpoint, it's been very rewarding to see a curriculum go from just being on a paper to being actually brought into life. Then I was asked by NYU to come back and to work with them on a Bachelor's of Science in Critical Infrastructure Protection. Started working on that in 2005. Now the Red Cross is looking at creating a Master's of Public Administration and Emergency Assistance and Humanitarian Relief, kind of like the MCMY model. And they would then flesh that out with one of possible 2 universities to see how that would be offered, tied in with the AmeriCorps and the Peace Corps. So my curriculum development continues. In 2007, the day after my birthday, I got a phone call from a former OEM commissioner saying, I'm now working at the Red Cross. I want you to come in and kind of professionalize the Red Cross volunteer training and to bring in some of the electronic or online learning platforms that you're familiar with. And so I've been here since September 2007, basically running what would be the equivalent of a small university with 7,000 volunteers going through the training and about 200 employees, going through 42 different types of classes, and then trying to build up our capacity so that we're able to open up 50 shelters, and we have enough managers to be able to do that, staff, in order to keep the shelters running at the highest level possible. Looking at creating new courses, we're coming out with a basic Spanish for disaster responders, basic Mandarin, basic Cantonese, eventually one in Creole and one in Russian. So the Red Cross has been very good in allowing me to use my creative side, as MCMY was when I initially went there in 2001 and developing the degree. So it's not being a responder, but it's preparing people who are responders. And I had a very strange incident, and I was coming back from a state leave law training up in Albany, where the Red Cross trains state workers in order to be able to respond should there be an incident in the state. We did the same thing with the Merchant Marine Academy. But I was in my Red Cross uniform in front of a Red Cross vehicle, and this young man brought his son up in order to introduce him to me and said, this man is a hero. And I said, no, I'm not really the hero. I train people who go out and do the response. They're more the hero. So I like to know that I'm able to improve the quality of the people who are going out there to go to a house fire, or going to someone who suffered from a flood, or someone who's been as a result of the fires in California or an earthquake. in some other part of the country, that we're sending out the best quality person possible. And while we're a volunteer organization, we're still an organization that is trying to meet the standards at the highest possible level so that people go out providing the same quality of care that I may be on a cot, but it's the best experience that I've had. And we have people who then are kind of booking, I want to come back to the Red Cross, I want to come back to your shelter, when there's been, like we had last year, the experience we had at Alexandria in Virginia, or Louisiana, that they wanted to come back. Wanted to know when we were going to open up another shelter. They liked the New York Red Crossers and the type of care that they got. They knew that they were safe and that they didn't have to worry like they did in the Superdome or other areas. So it was a mega shelter of about 1,500 people at the time. So that's my entrance in. Started in the military and is ending in education, and I'm very pleased with that.